I traced my finger along the delicate curves of the ring, watching diamonds catch the light like tiny stars. 6 months of sketching, redesigning, and obsessing over every detail had led to this moment. The centerpiece, a rare pink diamond I'd spent 2 years tracking down, nestled perfectly in its rose gold setting. This wasn't just another piece of jewelry. This was my masterpiece. I can't believe you actually did it, Jordan. Melissa's voice carried across the conference room, drawing everyone's attention. She stood, champagne flute in hand, commanding the room like she always did. When you first mentioned designing something for the Centennial Collection, I honestly didn't think you had it in you. My smile faltered slightly. There was something off in her tone, but I brushed it aside. Melissa had been my best friend for 15 years. We'd built this company together, sharing midnight pizza during all-nighters and holding each other through failed relationships. If anyone understood what this moment meant to me, it was her. The crown of dawn represents everything our brand stands for, I said, lifting the ring from its velvet display. Innovation merged with tradition, just like we've always... Oh, honey, Melissa cut in, her laugh sharp enough to slice. You're not seriously still calling it that, are you? The room went quiet. 20 faces turned toward me, including our entire board of directors. My hands started to shake. What do you mean? That's the name we agreed on months ago. Melissa's heels clicked against the hardwood as she approached, each step deliberate. No, darling. The Eclipse Ring. That's what we're calling it. My design, my name. The world tilted sideways. Your design? Melissa, what are you talking about? She plucked the ring from my trembling fingers. The board approved my submission last week. Didn't you get the memo? Her smile was pure poison. I mean, your concept was sweet, but this is business. We need something marketable, not just another boring cocktail ring. Boring, my voice cracked. I showed you every sketch. You helped me source the diamond. The realization hit like a physical blow. All those late-night design sessions, the way she'd insisted on handling the paperwork herself, her sudden interest in every detail of my creative process. I refined your amateur attempts into something actually worth producing, she said, sliding the ring onto her finger. Really, you should be thanking me. This collection will put us on the map. Put us on the map? No. Put her on the map. Leonardo, our business partner, cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this in private. Why? Melissa's laugh rang out again. Everyone here knows I'm the creative force behind this company. Jordan's always been more administrative, handling the books, managing inventory. Important work, of course, but let's be honest about where the real talent lies. 15 years of friendship crystallized into something ugly and jagged in my chest. Every shared secret, every celebration, every moment I'd thought we were building something together. It had all been a calculated move in her game. The room spun as memories crashed through my mind, the subtle ways she'd been pushing me aside for months, the accidental exclusion from key meetings, the clients who suddenly preferred to work with her directly. It hadn't been paranoia after all. You stole my design. The words came out barely above a whisper. I improved it, she corrected, examining the ring. The board agrees, don't they? Heads nodded around the table, faces carefully blank. They'd known. They'd all known. Now, Melissa continued, shall we discuss the spring collection? I have some exciting new concepts to share. I stood there, rage and humiliation burning holes in my chest, as my supposed best friend began her presentation. The ring, my ring, caught the light with every gesture of her hand, mocking me. Each flash of pink diamond felt like a knife twisting deeper. In that moment, something inside me shifted. The Jordan who trusted blindly, who believed in friendship above all else, she died in that conference room. In her place, something colder took root. Something that understood exactly what needed to be done. I gathered my papers with steady hands, tucking away sketches that proved the truth. My truth. As I walked toward the door, Melissa's voice followed me. Oh, and Jordan? We'll need those supplier contracts on my desk by morning. You're still handling that side of things, right? I paused in the doorway, not turning around. Of course, I said softly. I'll take care of everything. She had no idea how much I meant those words. No idea at all. I sat cross-legged on my apartment floor, surrounded by 15 years of photos. Melissa and me at design school graduation, on our first buying trip to Antwerp, celebrating our first major collection launch. My fingers trembled as I picked up each memory, examining it for signs I should have seen. The buzzing of my phone broke through my fog. Zara's name lit up the screen, my third missed call from my sister today. I let it ring. How could I explain that the person I trusted most had been orchestrating my downfall while sharing Sunday brunches and holding my hand at Dad's funeral? A sharp knock at my door made me jump. "Jordan, I know you're in there." Zara's voice. Of course she'd come in person. I didn't move but heard her key turning in the lock anyway. The photos scattered around me told the story I couldn't voice. "Oh, honey." Zara's arms wrapped around me from behind. "Leonardo called me. He told me what happened." I feel so stupid. My voice came out raw. All those times she asked to review my sketches, insisted on handling the patent paperwork herself. I picked up a photo from last Christmas, Melissa's arm around my shoulders as we showed off matching friendship bracelets she'd given us. She wasn't being supportive. She was gathering intelligence. "Have you looked at the actual paperwork?" Zara asked, settling beside me. "There must be something—" "She locked me out of the system." I laughed, the sound brittle. "Changed all the passwords this morning. Said it was a routine security update." "That bitch." Zara grabbed her phone. "I'm calling Eric. He's still at the firm, right? He'll know what legal options—" "No!" I snatched her phone. I can't let anyone else know how naive I've been." "This isn't about being naive. This is theft." My laptop chimed with an email notification. Melissa's name in the sender field made my stomach clench, but I clicked it open. "Dear Jordan," I read aloud, "in light of recent restructuring, your role will be transitioning to focus exclusively on supply chain management. Please clear your design materials from the studio by end of day tomorrow. Your new office will be on the 3rd floor, effective immediately." "She's demoting you." Zara's voice rose. "Can she even do that?" "She owns 51%. The words tasted like ash. "Another thing she arranged while I was distracted with Dad's illness last year. Said it was temporary to help secure a loan." "Wait!" Zara grabbed my shoulders. "Go back. What do you mean, clear your design materials?" My heart stopped. The studio. My private sketchbooks. The prototype pieces I'd been developing. Everything that proved my designs were mine. I scrambled for my keys, barely remembering to grab shoes. Zara followed me to the car, asking questions I couldn't process. The 15-minute drive to the office felt like hours. The security guard barely glanced up as I swiped in. At least that access hadn't been revoked yet. The elevator ride to the 4th floor stretched eternally. I knew before I reached my studio door. The lights were on, boxes stacked neatly outside. Through the glass, I could see Melissa methodically going through my drawers. "What are you doing?" I demanded, bursting in. She didn't even startle. "Oh, good, you got my email. I'm just helping organize the transition. Those are my personal sketches. Company property, actually." She held up a leather-bound notebook, the one containing my earliest designs for the ring. "Everything created on company time belongs to the firm. Section 12 of your contract." My vision blurred. "You're not just stealing my design. You're taking everything." "Stealing is such an ugly word." She tucked the notebook into a box. "I'm protecting company assets. The board agrees we can't risk you taking proprietary designs to competitors." "The board?" Something clicked. "That's why you've been having private dinners with them, turning them against me before I even knew there was a fight." Her smile was almost pitying. "Business isn't personal, Jordan. I thought you understood that." I stood frozen as she sealed another box. Each thud of tape felt like a nail in the coffin of my career, until I noticed something on her desk. Her laptop, logged into the company system. "You're right," I said quietly. It's just business. She looked up, surprised by my tone. I'll need a few minutes, I continued, to say goodbye to the space. She hesitated, then nodded. Take your time. I'll have maintenance collect the boxes later. The moment her footsteps faded, I slid into her chair. Her password manager was still active. My fingers flew across the keyboard, downloading everything I could access. Contracts, emails, design submissions, board meeting minutes. If Melissa wanted to play business, I'd show her exactly how impersonal things could get. You want to buy her out? Leonardo leaned back in his chair, studying me over steepled fingers. That's ambitious. 3 days of analysing the files I'd downloaded had led me here, to his private office overlooking the city. The morning sun cast long shadows across his desk, where I'd laid out my proposal. Melissa's been cooking the books, I said, sliding forward a spreadsheet. Look at these supplier invoices. She's been inflating costs, skimming the difference into a separate account. I found the transfers. He picked up the paper, eyes widening slightly. How did you get these? Does it matter? It might, legally speaking. But he was still reading, his frown deepening. This is significant fraud. Enough to force her out? Not without a lengthy legal battle. He set the paper down. One that could tank the company's reputation before it's resolved. My stomach clenched. Then what's the point? I didn't say it was useless. Leonardo stood, walking to his window. What's your liquid capital situation? I have my inheritance from Dad. It's not huge, but combined with these discrepancies, he turned back to me. We might be able to make her an offer she can't refuse. Hope flickered. We? You're not the only one she's crossed, Jordan. His smile was razor sharp. Some of us have just been waiting longer for the right moment. I studied him, remembering all the times he'd seemed to defer to Melissa's decisions. Had that been an act? Why help me? Because you still create. Melissa. He gestured to the city below. She only knows how to take what others build. The company needs innovation, not theft. My phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. Another demand for supply reports. I ignored it. How would this work? I asked. I have connections at Sterling Investment. They've been looking to expand their luxury portfolio. He returned to his desk, pulling up documents on his computer. With their backing, we could make an offer that... A knock interrupted him. The door opened before either of us could respond. I thought I might find you here. Violet's voice made me freeze. Our former CEO, my longtime mentor, stood in the doorway. Leonardo, could I borrow Jordan for a moment? He nodded, but his expression was unreadable. As I followed Violet to her old office, now used for storage, my mind raced. How much had she heard? Sit, she said, gesturing to a dusty chair. We need to talk about what you're planning. I'm not... Don't. Her voice was gentle but firm. I taught you everything you know about this industry. Did you think I wouldn't recognize the signs? I sank into the chair, suddenly exhausted. Then you know what Melissa did. I do. She perched on the edge of her old desk. I also know revenge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. This isn't about revenge, I protested. It's about justice. Is it? She raised an eyebrow. Then why are you sneaking around with Leonardo instead of taking legal action? Because I need to. Because you want to hurt her like she hurt you. Violet's words hit like a physical blow. You want her to feel the same betrayal, the same helplessness. Tears burned behind my eyes. She deserves it. Probably. Violet's hand found mine. But you don't deserve what it will cost you. What else can I do? Let her win? No. But there are other ways. She squeezed my fingers. Ways that won't require you to become something you're not. I pulled away, standing. Maybe I'm tired of being the person who always takes the high road. Maybe that person lost everything because she was too trusting, too ethical. You haven't lost everything. Violet's voice sharpened. You've lost money, status, a false friend, but your talent, your integrity, those are still yours. unless you choose to sacrifice them for revenge. You don't understand. I understand better than you think. She stood, moving to a filing cabinet. From the bottom drawer, she pulled a faded folder. Did you ever wonder why I retired early? I took the folder with trembling hands. Inside were newspaper clippings, legal documents, photos, all telling a story I'd never known. A betrayal that mirrored my own, 20 years earlier. How did you handle it? I whispered. Not well at first, she smiled sadly. But eventually I learned that success is the best revenge. Not destroying your enemy, but building something better than they ever could. I stared at the documents, mind racing. Something better? Just think about it, she said, heading for the door. And Jordan? Be careful with Leonardo. Not everyone who offers help has pure motives. She left me there, surrounded by dust and old memories, holding a folder that changed everything. My phone buzzed again. Leonardo asking if we were still meeting. I didn't respond. I had research to do. The cafe buzzed with lunch rush energy as I scrolled through years of Melissa's emails. Each message revealed another thread in her web of manipulation. She hadn't just stolen my designs, she'd been systematically isolating me from our entire social circle. More coffee? The waitress's voice made me jump. I slammed my laptop shut. No, thanks, The words died as I recognized her face. Sarah? My former assistant smiled tightly. Hi, Jordan. You're working here. Last I'd heard, she'd landed a prestigious position at our biggest competitor. Had to find something after Melissa blacklisted me. Her smile turned bitter. Apparently being loyal to you was a career-ending move. My chest tightened. What are you talking about? Sarah glanced around, then slid into the seat across from me. Remember that supplier meeting I scheduled for you last spring? The one Melissa said you cancelled? The Antwerp connection. My stomach dropped. She told me you'd double-booked me. She told them you were too unstable to handle major accounts. Sarah's voice shook slightly. When I tried to correct the record, she had me fired. Then she made sure no one in the industry would touch me. The coffee turned to acid in my stomach. How many others had Melissa destroyed to clear her path? I'm so sorry, I whispered. I had no idea. Not your fault. Sarah stood, straightening her apron. Just be careful, okay? She's got people everywhere, eyes and ears in places you wouldn't expect. As if summoned by her warning, my phone lit up with a text from Eric. Need to talk. Urgent. 20 minutes later, I found him pacing outside his law office. You shouldn't be here, he said instead of hello. Someone might see. What's wrong? He pulled me into the building's shadow. Leonardo came to the firm today. He's preparing documentation for a hostile takeover. I know. He's helping me. No, Jordan. Eric's eyes were intense. He's preparing it for himself, using evidence of financial fraud to force both you and Melissa out. The world tilted sideways. That's not. He said, he's playing both sides. Melissa came to me too, wanted to know if I'd heard from you. She implied you've been stealing company data. Ice filled my veins. The files I'd downloaded. Did you tell her? Of course not. But Jordan... He ran a hand through his hair. You need to be smarter about this. They're both laying traps, and you're walking right into them. I thought I was being careful. You're being predictable. They know you well enough to anticipate your moves. He touched my arm gently. Maybe it's time to let this go, start fresh, somewhere else. I can't. The words came out raw. This company, it's all I have left of Dad. He believed in me, in what we were building. I can't let Melissa destroy that. Then you need to change tactics. His expression shifted. Actually, there might be someone who can help. Remember Marcus from law school? The one who specialized in corporate espionage cases? He works in corporate security now, helps companies protect themselves from exactly what Melissa did to you. Eric pulled out his phone. He owes me a favor. Hope flickered. You think he'd help? Let me make some calls. He hesitated. But Jordan, whatever you decide to do, leave me out of it. Officially. I understood. He was risking his career just talking to me. Back home, I spread everything I had across my living room floor. Emails, contracts, Sarah's story, Violet's file, Eric's warning about Leonardo. Pieces of a puzzle I'd been looking at wrong. My phone buzzed. A group text from Melissa to the whole design team. Celebration dinner tonight. Big announcement coming. Attendance mandatory. Below it, responses poured in. People I'd worked with for years falling over themselves to congratulate her, to curry favour. Another message popped up, private this time, from Marcus. Eric filled me in. Interesting situation. Let's talk. I stared at the phone thinking about Sarah serving coffee, about Dad believing in me, about Melissa wearing my ring like a trophy. I'm in, I typed back. Whatever it takes. His response came instantly. First rule, trust no one, not even me. Second rule, are you ready to get your hands dirty? I thought of Violet's warning about becoming something I'm not. But maybe that was the point. Maybe I needed to become something new. Yes, I replied. Tell me what to do. The pieces were aligning differently now. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about survival. And I was done playing by everyone else's rules. The celebration dinner hummed with fake laughter and clinking glasses. I sat at the far end of the table watching Melissa hold court like a queen among her subjects. My former friends hung on her every word, their loyalty bought with promises and threats I was only beginning to understand. And now, Melissa stood, champagne flute raised, the announcement you've all been waiting for. Our eclipse ring has been selected as the centerpiece for next month's Lux magazine cover. Applause erupted. I gripped my water glass harder, remembering Marcus's instructions. Let her have her moment. The higher she climbs, the harder she'll fall. Jordan. Her voice cut through the noise. Don't you want to congratulate me? Every head turned. I forced a smile. Congratulations. That's all? Her eyes glittered. No words of wisdom from our supply chain manager? Before I could respond, the restaurant door opened. Leonardo strode in, followed by a woman I didn't recognize. Sorry we're late, he announced. Everyone, meet Diana from Sterling Investment. She has some exciting news. My heart stopped. This wasn't part of the plan. We're pleased to announce, Diana began, that Sterling will be acquiring a majority stake in... What? Melissa's champagne sloshed. That's impossible. I haven't agreed to any... The board voted this afternoon, Leonardo said smoothly. Given certain financial irregularities that have come to light, they felt new leadership was necessary. The room went silent. I watched Melissa's face drain of colour as she realised what was happening. Part of me wanted to savour her shock, but something felt wrong. If you'll all excuse me, I murmured, slipping away from the table. In the bathroom, I pulled out my phone and dialed Marcus. They're moving faster than we expected, he answered without greeting. Leonardo's trying to take control. Tonight. Perfect. Exactly what we needed. What do you mean? Check your email. Now. I pulled up my inbox with trembling fingers. There it was. A message from Marcus with dozens of attachments. Emails between Leonardo and Sterling going back months. Plans to acquire the company, strip its assets, dissolve the brand. He's not just pushing Melissa out, I whispered. He's going to destroy everything. Now you understand what you're really fighting for. I ended the call, gripping the sink as the world spun. This wasn't about my designs anymore. It was about protecting 15 years of work, dozens of employees' livelihoods, my father's legacy. The bathroom door opened. Zara slipped in, concern etched on her face. You okay? Things are getting ugly out there. I can't let this happen. My voice shook. Any of it. Then don't. She squeezed my shoulder. But whatever you're planning, remember who you are. Dad always said, Dad's gone. The words came out sharper than intended. And his belief in doing things the right way didn't protect him from being cheated by his partners? It didn't protect me from Melissa. No, Zara said quietly. But it protected him from becoming like them. Like you're becoming. I'm not... Really? She pulled out her phone, showing me texts I'd sent her recently, short, cold, distant. When's the last time we actually talked? Had dinner? You're so focused on destroying Melissa, you're losing everything else. Tears burned my eyes. I can't stop now. Leonardo will tear apart everything we built. Then fight him. Fight Melissa, but don't lose yourself doing it. She hugged me fiercely. I miss my sister. A commotion erupted outside. We rushed out to find Melissa and Leonardo in a heated confrontation. You planned this from the beginning, Melissa snarled. Used me to get to... Please, Leonardo scoffed. You made it easy. So desperate to prove yourself, you never saw the bigger picture. I watched them tear each other apart, suddenly seeing everything clearly. They were two sides of the same coin, both willing to destroy anything for power. My phone buzzed. Marcus again. Ready to execute phase 2? I looked at Zara, then at the chaos unfolding before us. At my former friends watching their world implode, at everything I'd worked for hanging by a thread. No, I typed back. We do this my way now. That's not the plan. Plans change. I straightened my spine, stepping forward. Trust me, because I finally understood. To beat them, I couldn't become them. I needed to be something else entirely. Something they'd never see coming. Actually, I said loudly, making both Melissa and Leonardo turn, I have an announcement of my own. Every eye in the restaurant fixed on me as I pulled out my phone, hands steady despite my racing heart. I've just sent each board member proof of what's really been happening at our company. What are you doing? Leonardo's voice held a warning, showing everyone the truth. I turned to address the whole room, about Melissa stealing designs, about Leonardo planning to dismantle our brand, about all of it. Melissa laughed, but fear flickered in her eyes. No one will believe. I believed in you. My voice cracked. For 15 years I believed in our friendship. That's why I have copies of every conversation, every file, every decision you made while pretending to be my friend. You're bluffing, Leonardo said, but he was already checking his phone. The board is meeting tomorrow morning, I continued. They'll be reviewing evidence of fraud, theft of intellectual property, and corporate espionage. From both of you. Diana from Sterling Investments stood. This dinner is over. We'll be withdrawing our offer. No. I met her gaze. You'll be dealing with me directly now, because I just acquired controlling interest in the company. The room erupted. Melissa's face went from pale to crimson. That's impossible, you don't have the resources. But I do. Violet's voice cut through the chaos as she entered the restaurant. And I believe in Jordan's vision for this company's future. My former mentor moved to stand beside me, and I felt tears threatening. She'd come through. The emergency board meeting she'd helped me arrange, the private investors she'd connected me with, the legal team she'd assembled, it had all led to this moment. This is absurd, Leonardo sputtered. You can't just... Actually, she can. Eric appeared in the doorway, legal documents in hand. The paperwork was filed an hour ago. Jordan is now majority shareholder. Melissa lunged for me, but Sarah, my former assistant, stepped between us. I wouldn't. I recorded everything you said about blacklisting me. That lawsuit is being filed tomorrow. One by one, people I'd thought lost to Melissa's influence stood up around the room. The head designer she'd demoted, the accountant she'd threatened, the supplier she'd tried to cheat, all with stories, all with evidence. You planned this, Melissa whispered. All of it. No. I shook my head. I learned it. From you. The difference is I'm using it to protect people, not destroy them. Security will escort you both out, Violet said calmly. Your credentials have already been revoked. As they were led away, Leonardo turned back. This isn't over. You have no idea what's coming. Actually, I do. I held up my phone. Marcus sends his regards. He said to tell you he's enjoyed working for me these past few weeks. Leonardo's face contorted as he realized his corporate espionage expert had double-crossed him. The door closed behind them, leaving stunned silence. Well, Zara appeared at my elbow with a fresh glass of champagne. That was dramatic. A laugh bubbled up, slightly hysterical. Did I really just do that? You did. Violet squeezed my shoulder. The hard part starts tomorrow. She was right. I turned to address the room. My employees now, all watching with mixture of fear and hope. I know trust has been broken, I began. I know we've all been hurt. But this company was built on creativity, on innovation, on believing in each other. That's what we're going back to. Heads nodded. Some smiled. But then my phone buzzed. An email from Melissa's private account. My hands shook as I opened it. A single image. The original sketch of my ring design, dated months before I'd drawn it. Next to it, a photo of her meeting with my former metalsmith. The text below read, "Did you really think I worked alone?" "Jordan," Zara touched my arm. "What's wrong?" I stared at the image, ice spreading through my veins. There were more conspirators, more threads to unravel. The victory I'd thought complete was only the beginning. "Nothing," I said, tucking my phone away. "Just loose ends to tie up." But as celebration erupted around me, I felt the weight of what was coming. I'd won the company, but at what cost? And how many more betrayals were still hidden, waiting to be revealed? Tomorrow would bring new battles. Tonight, though, I watched my sister laugh with Violet, saw Sarah hugging her old colleagues, noticed Eric watching me with something more than professional interest. I'd chosen to fight differently than Melissa and Leonardo. Now I had to prove it was the right choice. The metalsmith's workshop smelled of torch fuel and hot metal, just as I remembered. I traced my fingers along the worn workbench where I'd spent countless hours perfecting my designs, where I'd trusted David with my creative secrets. "I wondered when you'd show up," his voice came from behind me. "Heard about your corporate takeover?" I turned slowly. "Did Melissa warn you I'd come?" "She didn't have to." He set down his tools, wiping his hands on his apron. "We both know how this works. You find out who helped her, you destroy them, round and round we go." "That's not why I'm here." "No." He gestured to the security camera in the corner. "Then why disable my cameras before breaking in?" I pulled out my phone, showing him Melissa's email. "I want to understand. You taught me everything I know about crafting jewelry. You were like a second father to me after Dad died." Pain flickered across his face. "It wasn't personal." "Neither is this." I pressed play on the recording in my hand. His voice filled the workshop, discussing design specifications with Melissa months before I'd ever sketched the ring. "You're going to ruin me with that." His laugh was bitter. "Go ahead. I've got nothing left anyway." "What do you mean?" He sank onto his stool, suddenly looking old. "Why do you think I helped her? The cancer treatments cleaned me out. Melissa offered to pay for the experimental drug trial in exchange for services." My chest tightened. "You could have come to me." "And watched you drain your inheritance trying to save me, like you did with your father." He shook his head. I made my choice. We all make choices. I moved to his workbench, picking up the delicate tools I'd once loved. "But we also get to make new ones." The workshop door opened. Melissa strode in, triumph written across her face. "Well, isn't this cozy? I got your message, David. Though I have to say, I expected better from you, Jordan. Such an obvious trap." It wasn't his message. I turned to face her. It was mine. Her smile faltered as Violet emerged from the back room, followed by 2 police officers. "What is this?" "Justice." I held up my phone. "But not the kind you're expecting." The recording played again. David's confession, but this time continuing past where I'd stopped it before. His voice detailed every aspect of Melissa's blackmail scheme. The threats against his family, the forged documents, everything. "You really should sweep for bugs more carefully," I told her, "especially in places where you make threats." "You can't prove." "Actually," one officer stepped forward, "we can. Ms. Stone has been very thorough in providing evidence of your extensive fraud and extortion schemes." As they read Melissa her rights, I turned back to David. "The experimental trial you mentioned. The hospital board approved your participation this morning. Fully funded." His hands shook. "How?" "The company's new medical assistance program. For all employees and contractors. I managed a small smile. We take care of our own. Jordan! Melissa's voice cracked as they led her away. You can't do this after everything we built together. We didn't build anything together. I finally met her eyes. You took. I created. That's the difference between us. And that's why you'll never understand what real success feels like. After they left, David stared at his workbench. I don't deserve your help. Maybe not. I picked up a familiar tool, the one he'd given me on my first day. But that's not why I'm giving it. Dad always said talent means nothing without integrity. I lost sight of that for a while, hunting revenge. It's time to build something better. The ring design, he said quietly. It really was brilliant. I know. I reached into my bag, pulling out a velvet box. Inside lay a new ring, similar to my original design, but different. Evolved. That's why I made this one. He examined it with professional appreciation. The setting is innovative. The stone placement. It's called Phoenix Rising. I took the ring back, sliding it onto my finger where it belonged. Sometimes beautiful things come from ashes. The workshop door opened again. Zara poked her head in. Ready? The board's waiting. I looked around the familiar space one last time. At David, broken but not beyond redemption. At my sister, who'd never lost faith in me. At the ring that represented everything I'd lost and found again. Yes, I said, I'm ready. Because this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. And this time, I was building something on my own terms, with my own truth and my own strength. The strength that came from choosing creation over destruction every single time. The morning sun streamed through the workshop windows as I laid out my tools. Not in the executive office where Melissa had ruled, but here, where everything began. Where everything real was made. The board won't like this. Leonardo's voice made me look up. 2 security guards flanked him as he stood in the doorway, still wearing his designer suit despite the handcuffs. Moving the CEO's office to a workshop? It's unprecedented. That's why you're here, isn't it? I continued arranging my workspace. For one last attempt to explain how I'm doing everything wrong, he stepped forward, guards moving with him. I came to make a deal. I still have connections, resources, things you'll need. No, I held up my hand, the Phoenix Rising ring catching the light. You came because I invited you, to show you something. I gestured to the workbench where 3 rings sat displayed. My original design, Melissa's stolen version, and my new creation. Look closely, I said. Tell me what you see. He frowned but leaned in. They're similar, but each tells a different story. I picked up the first ring. This one speaks of ambition and trust. The second, this one of betrayal and greed. The third, and this one tells the truth. The truth? I smiled. That true innovation can't be stolen. It evolves, grows, becomes something new. I set the rings down. Like I did. Very poetic. His smile turned cruel. But poetry doesn't pay shareholders. No. I pressed a button on my desk. The workshop wall slid open, revealing a state-of-the-art design studio. Innovation does. His eyes widened as he took in the space. The 3D printers, the holographic design interfaces, the sustainable materials lab, everything he and Melissa had rejected as unnecessary expenses. While you were plotting takeovers, I continued, I was building this, the future of jewelry design. And guess what? Those shareholders you're so worried about, they approved it unanimously this morning. Impossible. The vote isn't until... The vote happened an hour ago. Violet appeared behind him. You missed quite a lot during your detention. The guards began leading him out, but he turned back. You think you've won? That you're different from us? Look at yourself. Manipulating, maneuvering, just like we taught you. No. I picked up my favorite design tool. I learned from you, but I chose to be different. That's why I'm letting you keep your shares. He froze. What? Under strict oversight, of course. Because watching this company thrive through ethical innovation will be a better punishment than anything else I could do to you. After he was gone, Violet raised an eyebrow. That was unexpected. Was it? I moved to the windows, looking out at the city. Dad always said true strength isn't about who you can destroy. It's about what you choose to build. Speaking of building, she handed me a folder. The applications for our mentorship program. Seems your story inspired quite a few young designers. I opened it to find dozens of portfolios. Passionate creators who needed what I'd once needed. Guidance, opportunity, trust. A knock at the door made us turn. Eric stood there, looking somewhat nervous. "The press is ready," he said. "Are you sure you want to do this? Going public with everything?" No more secrets. I gathered my tools, my rings, my truth. "That's the whole point." He caught my hand as I passed. "Dinner later?" "Yes." I squeezed his fingers. "But first, I have a story to tell." In the conference room, cameras and reporters waited. But so did Zara, beaming with pride. Sarah, restored to her position and stronger for it. David, wearing a visitor's badge and a cautious smile. My team, my real team, ready to build something new. I took my place at the podium, the Phoenix Rising ring bright on my finger. Not as a symbol of victory over Melissa and Leonardo, but as a reminder of who I'd chosen to become. "Everyone expects me to talk about corporate takeovers and betrayal," I began. "But this is actually a story about creation, about how sometimes we have to lose everything to find out what we're truly capable of making." The cameras flashed, recording this moment for tomorrow's headlines. But I wasn't performing for them. I was speaking to the next person who would face what I had faced, who would have to choose between revenge and renewal. "So, let me tell you about a ring," I continued, "and about how destroying it taught me to build something far more precious. Myself. Because in the end, that's what this was always about. Not the victory, but the choice. Not the revenge, but the rising. The rising that never ends.